There's something we all carry around with us every single day, and most of the time we don't even notice it's there. It's this invisible force that kind of shapes everything we do, everything we believe, and who we become. So today we're going to pull back the curtain, give it a name, and figure out what to do about it.
All right, let's just start with a big question, directly for you. What is the story you tell yourself about your life? And I don't mean the one you post online. I mean the real one, the one that runs on a loop in the back of your mind. Just hold on to that thought, okay? Because it's the key to everything we're about to dive into.
So first up, we're going to shine a bright light on this unseen narrative, the one that's quietly running the show. It's time to make the invisible, well, visible.
So this unseen force, it actually has a name, your private mythology. And this concept is huge. It's not just some casual thought. It's the fundamental story that dictates what you think you deserve, the risks you're willing to take, even the dreams you let yourself have. Honestly, you can think of it as the secret operating system for your entire life.
Now, this is probably the most crucial thing to get. We live inside these stories as if they're undeniable facts, but they're not. They're a lens. And you know how a lens works, right? It can be clear or it can be distorted, coloring absolutely everything you see. Understanding that difference, well, that's your first real step toward freedom.
So where in the world does this incredibly powerful lens come from? To really get it, we've got to go back, way back to where it all started.
See, your private mythology isn't something you sat down and consciously chose. It was built, little piece by little piece, when you were a kid. It's made from the feedback you absorbed, the role you were assigned in your family, like the responsible one or the difficult one, and the coping strategies you had to come up with just to navigate your world. These aren't truths about you. They're more like artifacts of your past. And here's where things get really tricky. The very stories that acted as your armor in childhood, the ones that helped you survive, can become a cage in adulthood. That strategy of being the strong one who doesn't need anyone might have protected you back then, but today it could be the very thing keeping you from forming deep, meaningful connections.
Now, I know this whole private mythology idea can feel a little bit abstract, so let's break it down into 3 really concrete types of stories that all of us are living inside, every single day.
First, and maybe the most powerful of all, is the story you tell yourself about who you are. This is your identity, your self-concept. It sets the rules for your own character and what you think you're capable of.
Do any of these sound a little familiar? I'm just not a creative person. I always mess up relationships. I'm terrible with money. I'm just too much for people. I don't really belong here. See, these aren't just descriptions of reality. They're titles of stories that we've started to believe are true.
And here's the wild part. These stories become self-fulfilling prophecies. It's because of something called confirmation bias. Once you believe, I'm bad with money, your brain actively goes on a mission to find every single time you overspent, and it conveniently forgets all the times you saved responsibly. Your mind basically becomes a lawyer arguing a case it has already decided is true.
Okay, the second type of story is the one we tell ourselves about the world and all the people in it. This story really determines our basic sense of safety, who we trust, and what we think is even possible.
If your core story is that people can't be trusted, you're going to go through life with a shield up in every interaction. If you believe that success requires incredible sacrifice, you might never go after a dream that could also bring you joy and ease. This story becomes the map you use to navigate the world.
And finally, there's the story about your future. This one's subtle. It's not usually a loud declaration, but more of a quiet, underlying assumption of what is and is not on the table for you.
These are the stories that quietly put a ceiling on our ambitions. I shouldn't hope for too much is a story that protects you from disappointment, for sure. But the cost is that you might never experience real joy or breakthrough success. It pre-writes the ending before the adventure has even really started.
Okay, so we've kind of diagnosed the issue. We can see the stories and where they come from. Now we get to the turning point. This is the moment where everything can start to shift.
This is the moment. The realization that you are a character living inside a story that someone else, your childhood, your culture, your past, wrote for you. And yeah, it can be a little painful at first, but it is without a doubt the most liberating thought you can possibly have.
Because this is the way forward. The moment you see the story for what it is, a story, not a fact, you take your power back. You are no longer just the character stuck with the plot.
You get to pick up the pen. You become the author.
So the natural question is how? How do you actually do that? How do you go from being the character to being the author? Okay, let's get practical.
It all starts with one simple but really deep question you can ask yourself in any moment of stress or doubt or fear. Just stop and ask, what story am I telling myself right now? And the follow-up is even more important. Does this story actually help me become the person I want to be?
And when you find a story that just isn't serving you, you have options. If it makes you feel small, you can rewrite it. So if the story is, I'm not creative, go find one piece of evidence to the contrary and build a new story from there. If it feels like a cage, you have permission to walk out. If it's a story of harsh self-blame, you can soften it with compassion. If it's a story you inherited, question it. And if it's just plain outdated, it's time to update it for who you are today.
And remember this, you do not owe loyalty to a past version of yourself. You are not betraying yourself by letting go of an old narrative. That younger you did the absolute best they could with what they knew. Your loyalty now isn't to your past, it's to your potential. It's to the person you are actively becoming. At the end of the day, it all comes down to this. Your story is not fixed. It is not fate. It is a living thing shaped by your choices and your courage every single day. The story you choose to tell yourself will become the life you actually live, so make sure you tell a beautiful one.